Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mike Squires. This is the Couch Riffs podcast, and you're about to watch or listen to episode number 275, the first of 2025, and the first podcast episode that I will release in a few months. Now it's been. I'm super stoked to be back at it. Thank you for hanging in there, sticking by Couch Riffs podcast. I hope that you enjoy this episode with a Pacific Northwest legend, Seattle's original hip-hop superhero. He's got a string of hits: Square Dance Rap, Buttermilk Biscuits, My Hoopty, Posse's on Broadway, Swass, Beepers, and Baby Got Back. My guest this episode is Sir MIxaLot. I had a great time talking with Mix. He's a great storyteller. Probably could have talked for another couple of hours and not run out of stories. What a dude. I met him back in 98 very briefly when he had a band with the presidency of the United States of America. That was an awesome band. Super fun. The two great tastes that taste great together. They didn't make any releases, but we talk about it a little in our conversation. I do encourage you to go to YouTube and seek that out. There's one song, I don't recall the name of it because I'm terrible at reviewing my stuff, but go find it. Super good. Subset is the name of the band. We had a great time. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you are enjoying the podcast or the cover songs, which I'm really hoping to, between time and budget, there's some more construction in this podcast studio that needs to happen to kill some of the outside sound that comes in here. And then booking, studio time to have the live bands do the cover songs, all this stuff, time and money. But there will be more cover songs coming, I promise. If you're enjoying the podcast, please accept this invitation to support Couch Riffs Podcast on Patreon. Patreon.com/CouchRiffs. That's the only way that the podcast brings in any money. It keeps the lights on, keeps the doors locked, keeps it warm in here, pays for the construction. Yeah, your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so much to everyone who supports and everyone who watches and listens. All of it matters, so thank you. Let's see, anything else? I don't know. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get into this episode. Don't forget the golden rule, right? Treat people the way you want to be treated, and don't be a dick, right? Here is episode 275 of my conversation with Sir MIxaLot.
What up, y'all? It's your boy MIxaLot, and you're here for Couch Riffs, and I got some riffs. 7-string, bitch. They'll be like, this guy can't play 7-string. Can't count to 7.
Do you have any 7-string guitars?
No, I just love 7 strings, how they sound. I love that, but then it kind of went out of style for a while.
Well, yeah, no, everything comes around, right?
I just love it. I'd like when Godsmack came, I'd go out there and watch that, right. And Korn come. Anybody with a 7-string, I just watched it because it felt like a drum machine to me.
Right.
So it's kind of the same kind of thunder.
Sub-frequencies.
Yes, I love that stuff.
You're into the heavy stuff.
I love that stuff, man.
May I call you Mix?
Anything but asshole works.
Yeah, I've been called worse.
Yeah, me too.
I know it goes without saying, but you're from Seattle.
Yeah. Born and raised.
You want to talk a little bit about old Seattle and what was happening when you were coming up?
No, I lived up on 19th and Yesler back in the day. Like I said, it was low-income housing, Bryant Manor apartments. Now they turn them into condos.
Yeah.
Go figure. Anyway, it was a different scene. I had literally prostitutes on one corner, pimps on the other corner, watching the tricks pick up the prostitutes. By the time I was 13 years old, I knew the whole, I knew what they were doing.
Right.
I knew that, they'd walk over there and this guy would hand them a little money and then let the girl out of the passenger side door. She'd jump in the car with this other guy. They'd go around the block, stay about 15, 20, 30 minutes, come back, boom, she did it again. And so I was looking at that at like 12 years old. But that being said, usually that story turns into, then I started selling cocaine. No, my mom, iron hand, right? I never will forget one time I was out there talking to my friends, showing off and shit. And I go, when I grow up, man, I'm gonna be a pimp. I'm gonna have all these hoes. And the guys were laughing at me. So in the midst of them laughing, I'm not realizing why they're laughing. I turn around and my mom just wow slapped me right in my face. And that was the good side of what was going on, is that
Right.
back then, I'm sorry, I'm a person that I do believe in spanking, because if my mom didn't ride my ass, because my dad didn't live with us. Now, my dad would come over once every 6 months and give me a good beat down, but it was mom that really raised me. And she was a nurse at the King County Jail, carried a 38 in her purse every morning to get on the bus, and probably not making much money back then.
Sure.
We're talking 70s, 76, 77, 78. And she would donate time on the weekends at the Black Panther Clinic. So I started to play ball up near where the Black Panther headquarters, they had a headquarters up there on 19th and Spruce. And across the street was the Rotary Boys and Girls Club. And you think that sounds just like a nice place to be. But back then it was, yeah, you'd see everything from the pimps down the street to the people from the church. It was literally a hodgepodge of everybody in the community would come in if they loved playing basketball or something like that. And that's kind of where I grew up. So I had access to a lot of stuff, but then busing started. That's probably musically, for me, the best thing that ever happened to me, is that I was bused. I hated it. I hated getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, jumping on a bus at, 6 o'clock and
Right.
going all the way out to Roosevelt every day. But what I started to hear was different sounds, different types of music. And it wasn't just my Parliament Funkadelic and Bootsy Collins stuff that I love.
Nothing wrong with that, though.
Oh yeah, I was listening to that in the car waiting around. So yeah, I love that stuff. But it started to shape me. And so yeah, I had influences coming from all angles. And it's kind of weird because everybody says, dude, you have no opinion on anything. I said, no, I have opinions on stuff, but I'd be a hypocrite to say I hate it. It's something I like. I can like metal. I can like rap. I can like I got jazz, all kind of stuff, but it's blues, any of that stuff I would listen to, and everybody thought I was just being disingenuous and sucking up to everybody that asked the question.
Sure.
But it was just who I was.
Last year, I saw you give a keynote speech just a few blocks away from here at the Cultural Arts Center.
Mm-hmm.
You had a great story about being introduced to a synthesizer. Am I remembering this right?
Yes. There's a guy named Rico, and he's so shy, right? He came to the mayor gave me a thing. It was deemed it MIxaLot Day, and
Yeah.
and I see him, and I'm like, wait, I want to talk to you. I'm telling him this right in the middle of me giving my speech, but he's so shy, right? And I get off, and he's gone. That guy, when I was at the Boys and Girls Club, we were playing basketball, and he came in one day, and he had this big long case. He wasn't there to do anything. He just didn't want it to get stolen out of his car. He came in to play basketball with us,
Right.
right? Anyway, long story short, I said, what's in that big case you keep moving to the back of the truck every day? He said, that's a synthesizer. I said, what does that mean? He said, yeah, it has keys on it. I said, that's a piano. He said, no, this is not a piano. And eventually he started to show me how to make music with it. And I realized it wasn't a piano. I was making missile noises,
Right.
using white noise, and every day he'd bring it up and we'd just mess with it and mess with it and mess with it. And I was probably 14 when he brought it up there the first time. And he came up there and he was teaching people how to do music, but a lot of people weren't interested, but I was seriously interested. As a matter of fact, when he didn't show up, I was always disappointed. Even when the Sonics would come up to the Boys and Girls Club and they were playing full court with us. And I'm like, where's Rico? I'm sitting here looking at all the Supersonics,
Right.
and this is back in, when they were really good. Lonnie Shelton, stuff like that. When I went through, Lenny Wilkins being a coach and player coach and all that stuff. But I was waiting for Rico to come. And he taught me how to play a one melody from And the Beat Goes On, which if Sonny and Cher was redone in hip hop form. And I think it was a group called Orbit. And he said, I'm going to show you how to play that riff and you can play it with 2 fingers. I said, okay. And the riff was like, that was it.
Right.
And he just said, just take 1 finger and this finger, never move it off of here. And you're going to go, that's where it started at. But he never taught me the chords and stuff, but I could see him playing them. So as I got older, we moved out to the South End, to the Lakeshore Village, which is no longer projects, which is kind of strange. I got a job right up the street, a place called Transport Equipment. And I just worked my ass off until I had enough money to buy my first synthesizer. So I ended up with a Moog Prodigy, and I was pissed off when I found out it was monophonic. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So I'm like, doot, 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 1 key at a time. So I could do bass lines and stuff like that.
Sure.
And then Rico
Do you still
said,
have that synthesizer?
yes, I do.
Amazing.
Yes, I have it in my storage facility. I will never throw it away. Never throw it. It's my first thing I ever bought myself. Before a car, I was looking for synthesizers. And then I started to collect gear. I'd take my job. Every time I got paid, I'm buying gear and more gear and more gear. I bought a 4-track cassette. And I didn't have enough tracks, obviously, to make deep songs. So what I would do is I would record the parts that could afford to be degraded without really noticing. You know where I'm going.
Yeah,
right.
course.
So it would be like a crap background vocal that you don't care about anyway. And I would record those first because they're going to sound the worst because you're going to ping pong them 5 times down and they're going to sound like, Anyway, then I would do all my rap stuff at the end. And we'd play it for people around the neighborhood and all this stuff. I'd make songs about people and stuff like that. They'd say, man, put me in your song. Just diss me. This will be hilarious. So I started to DJ. And I went back to where I played the basketball at 19th and Spruce, Rotary Boys and Girls Club, JoJo Buchanan, and those guys were trying to raise money to get, uniforms. And they were going to, put together some basketball teams up there and stuff like that and have a league. I said, well, I can help you raise money, I guess, by DJ. And he said, yeah, let's do that. So first I started out just playing other people's music.
Right.
And then I did a song dissing girls at Rainier Beach High School. High School Ducks, I called it. And it was a corny song.
Sure.
But everybody was laughing like crazy. And it got kind of popular. And then I started to take it a little more serious. I started working with this dude. He went by the name Baron Von Scratch. His name was Jerome, real name. And he was incredible. He was ahead of me. And I started learning stuff from him too. I mean, we learned from each other. I was crazy with the drum machines, but he had, 2 synths and he wasn't even out of high school yet. I'm like, damn, he's a good thief or a con man or something. But he had more than I had.
Yeah.
And long story short, the first time when I started to take music seriously, I was up there doing the same thing at the Boys and Girls Club. They would pay me $100 a night and I would do it. That was a lot of money then.
That's a lot of money back then. Yeah.
Talking about probably 1979, 80. I was rich. I could afford gas and a meal.
I think that's how much my rent was back then.
Yeah. So my dad bought me a car because he knew we were borrowing cars and stuff to get up there, getting rides with people that were going to the parties. My dad bought me a Buick, 1969 Buick Deuce and a Quarter, which is my hoopty. That's where that song came from. And so I wrote my hoopty then, but I didn't have music. We didn't have any music for it. So I just kind of let it sit. I let it lie dormant forever. Then I played it in front of the crowd, and they were off for a minute. They were like, we never heard this song. They weren't dancing at all.
Right.
And they started listening to when they heard me mentioning Rainier Beach and Rainier Avenue and Yesler Way, they went, hey, yeah, that's about us. But they still didn't know it was me. I'm just playing something that I've already recorded.
Right.
And everybody starts listening and going, "It's the shit. That's the shit right there. That's our shit." And they really grabbed it. It was theirs. And rumors started flying around, and I wasn't the only one doing this. John Funches was a guy that he and I were like, but he was a better DJ than me. I mean, as far as just the skills, right? And he was making songs. So all of us started making songs. So it was a thing to do in Seattle. I wasn't the only one. So then Ness Rodriguez from K-Fox walks in the door one night, and I'm terrified. I was dating a girl named Trina then, and she's with me. She said, "You got to do one of your songs. You got to do one. Do it live." I said, "Dan, this is Ness. He'll fucking think I suck." Nah, man, Ness fell in love. I couldn't believe it. And that guy, he's going through some health problems right now. I just talked to him yesterday, but I think he's gonna be all right. But if it wasn't for that day, you wouldn't even know who I was right now, because he was then working with Ed Locke, who ended up becoming the founder of Nasty Mix Records. And so we put Square Dance Rap out, which is what he liked the most. And I followed that up with this Buttermilk Biscuits thing, and he liked that. But then people started saying, this guy's just a gimmick. He's not using his own voice. And that's when I started to deal with credibility. So I said, I gotta get away from gimmicky stuff that's just gonna be played, on Thanksgiving.
Right.
I want to do songs that people are gonna, remember.
Sure.
30, 40 years ago, and that's kind of where that's kind of how I got started.
So how many people were like, was there a scene of hip hop happening?
Yes. Oh yeah. When Grandmaster Flash, like my mom hated it. She hated hip hop, but she loved blues. All right. So I'm playing hip hop in the room, and it's summer, so I'm off school. So she'll hear me playing that stuff in the morning. She's like, "God, that's not even music. Hibbity, 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 hibbity." Because I'm playing, hip hop, a hibbity to the hibbity. I'm back in Sugar Hill Gang, right? Then she heard the message, and she was downstairs watching TV, and she came upstairs. She said, "What is that?" I said, "That's the message." Said, "Yeah, but who wrote that?" I said, "A group called Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five." She said, "I don't care what you call that. That's the fucking blues. I like that." Because she heard the story. And that is what made me start writing. She heard the story. It wasn't like I'm 6'1" and I'm tons of fun. It wasn't that. Right. It wasn't I got a lot of money when we're all broke. It was actually facts.
Yeah.
And that woke me up. That's when I said, okay, I got to make songs now. These are songs, and I'd go. Ness would let me do things at the radio station, like they did concerts and stuff like that. I remember I would drive the artists around to get there. I'd drive them to the hotel, do things for them. So I got to sit around sound check and kind of watch professionalism and the lack thereof, depending on who you were dealing with. When I watched like the Boogie Boys sound check, it was polished, just everything on point. I'm like, we sound check, we would do a whole song.
Sure.
Right. That's rookie shit, right? But we would sit there and we'd just do a whole song, and it'd be like 10 minutes of garbage, and sound man's like, "Okay,
what do you need?"
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I said, "Well, I need a mic." And so he said, No. You have a mic. How does it sound to you?
What do you need in your monitor?
Right. And then he said wedges. I'm like, wedgie? I'm thinking, I didn't know what a wedge was,
Sure.
but I was learning as I went on. And we opened for, I think it was Boogie Boys, a whole bunch of people, but we came on, it was still sunlight, outside. But it was the first show I ever did, and we thought we were the shit. When we were going home in the car, and we were like, yeah, we tore that shit up.
You weren't nervous at all going into it.
I was nervous. I was very nervous, but I got comfortable with it. And it was one of the managers of the other group said, "Hey man, take a deep breath and act like you do it at home. Don't even look at the crowd." Because he knew I was fresh, right? So he's just like, and I did that. I was looking, but I wasn't looking at any particular person.
I still do that.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you, I learned this a long time ago. When you watch a fan singing your song and he or she messes up, Guess what you do? Me and Kid Sensation, bing bong bing. It's like, oh shit. So I've learned I don't look at them. But yeah, that's kind of the story, and not the whole story, but the story pre-Nasty Mix.
Right.
And that when we did Nasty Mix Records, none of us knew what we were doing, I don't think. We met at a Chinese restaurant, just me, Ness, and Ed Locke. And we met at a Chinese restaurant and we talked about stuff. And then I had a friend that never gets credit for helping with Nasty Mix, and that was Greg Jones. Greg Jones gave me a job out at Electric Palace, just handing out change for pinball machines and all that stuff. And Greg didn't know that I was pretty decent with electronics. So when the pinball machines would break down, I noticed Greg was sending this guy in there and he was charging back then, $25 an hour. That was a lot of money.
Sure.
I'm like, dude, that's nothing but a capacitor and a couple of inductors. I was looking at the guy fix it. And all it was just a capacitor got hit so much that it changed the wrong angle. It had to sit this way, and then it would actuate and make the ball go, it would hit and then make the ball go out. All it was a burst of energy. Negative met positive, boom, and then the pinball would shoot out of there. I'm like, I could do that in my sleep. And he's like, where the hell did you learn this? I said, CB radio, because I was in the CB radio when I was a kid.
Right.
And so a bunch of the old guys, those guys were all way older than me. I used to call myself the youngest star on the corner when I'd key. We were doing a lot of illegal shit with CB. It was not, you don't go to jail for it, but if you interfere with your neighbors, you get the police called on you, that kind of stuff, and they'll make you stop or take your station down. So those guys, that's how I got into the electronic side of it. And when I started fixing those pinball machines, people started to bring me synthesizers and all kind of stuff to fix. And I started to make money that way for a while. And I got enough to get a 8-track reel-to-reel. And I started them at little Fostex reel-to-reel. I think it's one of those ones that moved real slow.
Sure.
So you can get a lot of stuff on one tape. And I started,
necessarily the best sounding though.
No, definitely not the best sounding. But when a person heard their own name in a song, they would come and buy it. So I was selling tapes for $10, and I would say you could tell me what to say. So I would say, if you wanted me to talk about one of your friends you hate, I would, John said you're an asshole and you smell like shit or whatever, and but it would rhyme, and people would buy them, anywhere from $5 to $10, and I would just do it and 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 do it, and then I went to another show with Ness, and it was bigger acts. R&B acts.
Mm-hmm.
And they would ask, let me hear what you got. And I would play it and they go, huh. Nobody would give me a feedback until somebody that was running with Roger Troutman. I don't know what his name was, but Roger Troutman I was a fan of because he came from Parliament Funkadelic, I'm a super P-Funk fan.
Sure.
And he heard it and he said, I can't remember what his name was, but he was a sound guy for Roger Troutman. He said, dude, you got to work on this. This sounds horrible. He said, first of all, everything's in mono. And I'm like, I only got 4 tracks.
Right.
He said, yeah, but you have adjustments for all 4 tracks, right? I said, yeah. He said, well, make some adjustments. Just do it on the fly. Just move things around. He said, because right now it sounds like this. It sounds, gray. And I said, what do you mean by gray? He said, you want color in your music. He said, you need some saturation, which back then, saturation was easy. All you had to do is drive into your channel, and then you pick up transformer noise and that good gooey stuff. And he just said, just turn it up. I'm like, okay. Of course, when I went digital, that was a whole nother. But yeah, so once I started hanging around pros, I got to open. And as I started opening for people, that's when I really started taking it serious.
But do you remember the moment where you were like, this is really going to work? I'm not convincing myself.
I remember it very well. I'm sure you know who Terry Date is.
I've recorded with Terry. We have that in common, yeah.
Terry Date, I got chills just now. Terry Date recorded Swass, right? That was my first album. I had never done anything. I brought it down on an 8-track. He's like, you could just see the look on his face. And he's like, yeah, we're going to have to do these all over. I said, oh, okay, I can record them again. He said, no. I said, no.
Right.
bring the DMX down, bring your 808 down, bring your synthesizer down, and make the songs here. I said, yeah, but that big thing is probably not going to move fast because I'm thinking that the tape's going to slow it down. That's how dumb I was. I thought the skinny one was better, right? And he said, no, that's not. He said, I'm going to show you how to mix. And he did. He helped me make that record. And to this day, every time I see that guy, you want anything, you need your house painted, call me. That's how I am with Terry, man. He's a good dude.
He's the
and
dude.
He taught me I'm seeing everything. I mean, how, and so I ended up, he was on a 24 track, reel to reel, and I bought one. I bought one when I got my advance. All I had was I think back then I got my advance was like $40,000 or something. And I just spent it all. And I went and bought it.
Now you can get that tape machine for $2,500.
Yeah. Yeah. But I got that thing and boy, did it pay for itself. I mean, all of a sudden I'm taking the songs, thank God that I hadn't released yet.
Right.
And I was like, this shot, now I know how to make that. I bought noise reduction units. I had that job at Transport Equipment. So that's how I was getting all this stuff. And then I started getting checks from my music.
Sure.
And I said, you know what? I'm going to go buy a car. And Terry goes, no. He said, get a junker, put your money back into what you're doing.
Right.
He said, you don't want to have to pay me every time you do a record to mix and master everything. You just don't want to do that. And he was right. So everything Terry Date told me to do, I did it. I did it, except for a couple of sounds I didn't like. But yeah, that is when I was semi-pro.
You've had a ton of success licensing.
Yes.
Massive.
Yeah.
Will you talk about the Pussycat Dolls thing?
Mm-hmm.
Because I heard that and straight away I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah. That was an interesting. Licensing is an art form.
Sure.
To me, a lot of artists are very, they love their stuff and they like, you're degrading it. Well, yeah, but that can be negotiated out. And that's what they don't understand. You can sit there and go, hey man, I really don't like when you use the word fart instead of pan or whatever. You can just tell them and they won't do it.
Sure.
They'll just change it, but you make it easy for them to put it out, make it easy for them to make their money from it, and it makes you rich. I mean, we did a ad campaign for a pretty big cereal company about a year ago, and that lasted a year, and 7 figures, and it's just.
What did they use?
They used Baby Got Back, but I changed it and we rapped about the cereal. and I got to be honest, I thought it was a failure because they paid me a shitload of money, right? But
that's the definition of success, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. But I thought it failed because publicly nobody was talking about it.
Right.
And then somebody on the other end of the Zoom call goes, "Oh," picks up an invoice, says Costco. I'm like, "Oh."
Right.
I stand down. I see it. See, yeah, we don't sell to the end user. We sell to the people that sell to the end user. So yeah, that's when I realized licensing is powerful. And I've been doing that a lot. So I feel like you can do that and get away with it. Some people say the only time you're selling out is when you're not who you are, is when you are dressed in a Ronald McDonald clown suit. You can negotiate that out of deals all the time, especially when they know not only am I the guy that tracks it, so I own my own publishing. I'm going to own this master because I have in my deal, I can own any master I create for any ad. So you don't really have to deal with all that licensing and stuff like that. I have multiple versions of Baby Got Back all over the place.
Wow.
But I still, like I said, I'm not crazy though. I'm not going to piss off Universal. So Universal, they collect. So they're getting a cut for something they didn't have anything to do with most of the time.
20% of nothing is still nothing.
Yeah. Sometimes, yeah. Yeah, you're right. Cause that is kind of, I get looks from young artists. They look at me like, how's this guy making money? you could kind of feel it because I used
Pay
to be
attention,
like that.
kids.
Yes.
But so what about the Swass reimagining? What did that come out of nowhere?
You know what's funny is that they must have heard it because it was their idea. Don't you wish your girlfriend was hot like me?
Right.
So, but a lot of times when you do that, they don't know they don't remember where the song came from. They think it's their
Sure.
idea. I've done that. I did a song and the guy goes, "Hey," I said, "Oh shit, I think I did do that," and I just, okay, here's your cut, whatever.
Right.
And yeah, but they had it all laid out.
They for sure knew because even the beat is like,
Yeah, he knew, and he just said, "Hey man, you ever I call it urinal whistle. When guys are uncomfortable and they remember a song and they whistle it while they're taking a piss
sure.
because they're scared for each other to hear the yeah, so it was, I think that's how it probably happens. Urinal music. That's what I call it. And he called me. We talked about it on the phone, and we both agreed that this would be horrible for the Pussycat Dolls if I were to step on this and say, no, you can't do it. The song already had momentum. And, so I'm not that kind of an artist. Now, I don't let you use everything. If you mock my song, I won't do it. But when I heard it and I saw him, I'm like, shit, this is going to blow up. And it did.
Yeah.
If they had stayed together, that would have been really big, but they didn't.
Did Weird Al ever do one of your songs?
He might have. He might have. Yeah, Weird Al's an interesting guy. He got away with a lot of shit.
I think he got approval from every artist.
Yeah. Yeah, he was interesting. He was interesting. I just didn't know. I said, how long is this going to last? And you keep thinking, it's got to stop.
Nope.
Kept going, got to stop. They were telling him to do stuff. Try this. Do our song. But yeah, Weird Al was doing all kind of stuff, man. That's back when MTV was a cool thing.
Well, yeah, when it was an actual thing.
What they were doing to rap was very interesting. It was, and I'm very serious about this. They didn't want to play it. I could tell.
Right.
But they had to because it was getting so popular. So they would play Run DMC, especially Walk This Way, right? But they wouldn't play I Like That. They wouldn't play, any of the Hollis Queen stuff. They wasn't going to play that. So then Baby Got Back goes #1 on MTV. Guess what MTV did? They banned it.
Did they really?
While it was #1. And I called my dad. My dad was like, he's always positive, right? I called my dad and I go, Dad, they banned me. He said, who? I said, MTV. He said, what's MTV, son? I don't watch that stuff. I said, well, it's, they play music. Oh, the music video channel. Okay, I know what you're talking about. He said, oh, shit, you're really going to blow up now. That's exactly what he said. And that's exactly what Rick Rubin said. Rick Rubin, we talked about it on the phone. And because by that time I'm signed with Rick, I guess I should have told that part.
Right.
Yeah. And he said, well, his assistant, Heidi goes, Mix, look at it this way. You are now Ed Sullivan. You are now Elvis Presley, and you shook your leg one too many times on the Ed Sullivan show.
Yes.
I said, I'm the forbidden fruit. Fuck yeah. And the song just, it just took off. Thanks to MTV.
Did they start playing it again?
Nope.
Is that right?
Nope. No, they were too proud. I don't blame them. I wouldn't have either because that was kind of embarrassing. You blew the song up when you banned it.
Right.
It was #1 song on MTV. What did you think people were going to do? They're going to go elsewhere. I'm not saying that was the start of the decline of MTV because MTV's still around, but they still got that dude wearing that hat. And dude, we don't dress like that anymore. That stopped in the 80s. he's got the bent hat, and he's like overdoing the yo, what's up? I'm like, ooh, dude.
I don't know what's going on over there.
Yeah, it's like mocking hip hop. That's what it looks like.
Right.
And they got these little game shows and people falling in dunk tanks. I'm like, yeah, but they're trying to bring it back. Hopefully they play music and don't, you can not like a song, but don't bias it away. It doesn't work.
Right.
Not nowadays.
Let's go back a couple of records. Let's go back to Swas. Did you tour on Swas?
I toured first with Square Dance Rap, and that was it. I had Square Dance Rap.
Go out and do that song.
Yeah, I would just go out and do that song. I learned quick that ain't gonna work. We ended up playing a place outside of Compton, I guess. Whew. Thank God for Ice-T, because he gave me some information. He said, "Hey man, this ain't it's not what you want to do." Every artist in there was kind of like, "Yeah, you got to do something else, man. You can't do this." So I got talked out of it. One of the guys from the radio station said, "Yeah, this might not work. Square Dance Rap ain't gonna work in here." So then I come back home. It was embarrassing. You know, we did shows in places like Arizona and all that, but we couldn't, not there. So we went home, and that's when I did Posse on Broadway. And I didn't release it because we wanted to put it out on the album, but I didn't have an album name yet. So that forced me to not tour anymore and just sit there and make my album. And that's where Terry Day came in and helped with all that stuff. Yep. And that album,
that Taco Bell's gone, man.
Taco Bell's gone, but Taco Bell's still there. It's just not on Broadway. Maybe everybody's still farting, you know? And Taco Bell, I just realized, man, that stuff. You realize as you get older, was I eating this shit? Ooh, man, that was like not poison, but
it's for young people.
Yeah, it cleaned the guts out. I would say that. I guess that's can be good or bad, depending on where you're at.
So tell me about the experience of your first big tour.
First big tour. That's I learned a lot. And I'm talking about I'm not talking about just from what I was taking in, but what the artists were telling me. And I was watching them. It was Ice-T, Public Enemy, Stetsasonic, Too Short was on some shows. Houdini was on some shows. Run DMC on shows. And tell you the truth, my tail was between my legs.
You were out with, now they're legends,
I was
right?
way above my pay grade, way above it. And I knew it. And I said, okay. Because we're working on another record by that time, right? We had Seminar out, which Seminar did pretty good. Beepers and My Hoopty was huge, which is why they put me on that tour. It wasn't because of Baby Got Back, because Baby Got Back didn't exist yet, right? So it was Posse on Broadway and My Hoopty. Those were the songs that people wanted to hear. Our set was only 15 minutes. And initially I was mad. So the first few shows I got mad, got pissed off, went back to the hotel. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to watch all of them. I stood down in the front, you know, crowd didn't give a damn who I was. I was the opening act. I watched Ice-T do something. And this was back when the Mike Tyson, Robin Givens stuff was going on. And he was talking to the crowd. And I said, why is he talking about this? He said, I forgot how he said it. Oh, I remember how he did it. He wasn't talking yet. He had finished the song. He said, everybody say ho, crowd, ho, ho, ho. And he goes, ho, ho. And the crowd goes, ho, ho. And he goes, speaking of Robin Givens, I was like, that was the shit. I mean, we're not, you know, it was just a joke. He wasn't serious.
Yeah.
But he said, and it was like, I need that. I need to do stuff like that. I have to stop and talk. But my nerves were making me go to the next song because you don't have anything to say. Go to the next song because you don't have anything to say.
Right.
And I watched that. Then the next night, we all agreed we're going to stay and watch Public Enemy. I don't think I've gotten to that yet. I don't think I got on that. Public Enemy was the closest thing to rock and roll. Not the sound, but the crowd. The crowd. Keep in mind,
it feels dangerous.
I'm there on Christmas Day. I think we were either in Texas or New Orleans or somewhere. And Professor Griff, who was the real controversial one in Public Enemy,
right,
gets on the mic, Christmas Day. He said, I'm not here to say Merry Christmas. We don't believe in no fat ass white man coming down a fucking chimney bringing you some, that shit don't happen in the ghetto. I'm like, whoa. I mean, I was like, God damn. And I realized it was the realness. I was too, you know, I came off like I was scared, to be who I actually was. And I said, and I remember doing an interview, and I'm not going to say which artist said this because he hates when I tell this story. He goes, he watched me do a whole interview. And it's one of the guys I was just talking about. And he goes, how come you don't talk like you talk normally? Boy, that hurt. That hurt. I was like, God damn, if he notices it, what are my guys thinking? You know what I mean? So that is when I started to, I said, I don't have a persona. I do music, but I don't have a persona. And I looked at groups that were similar to me, and they were gone pretty quick, 2 albums and out. And I was only on my first album, thank God. I was on my second album because I had Hoopty out. But that tour, if it wasn't for that tour, Baby Got Back, it would never happen, I don't think. Because I didn't understand the fans.
Right.
I really didn't. More importantly, I didn't understand why they liked me. Right? I knew why they liked Public Enemy for the same reason I liked them. I knew why they liked Too Short for the same reason I liked them. Houdini, same reason. Then I looked in the mirror and like, who is this guy though? And I didn't have a thing yet. Posse on Broadway they did go platinum. The Swass record went platinum, but then I was a one-hit wonder, right? So it's like, oh shit, how do I get out of this? I gotta play Posse, but I need something else. And that's when the drug dealers started. That's when cats was selling cocaine, slinging rocks, and all that. And that's when I did Beepers. And so then now I knew here's that second hit that I was waiting on. And that blew up, did pretty good, went gold. Then my Hoopty was picked by a radio station in Killeen, Texas. They started playing it, and that was huge. That was way bigger than Beepers. Wasn't even close.
Where is that? Where do you say? Killeen, Texas?
Killeen, Texas. Yeah, it's somewhere in southern Texas.
That's wild, right?
Yeah. And they were just loving it. They loved it. Anything that I talked about that was real.
Right.
It was the fantasy stuff was leaving rap. People were, I'm 6'1", I'm tons of fun, and I dress to a T, and I got $1 billion and blah, blah, blah. I remember when rappers used to mention Donald Trump a lot. I remember that. Not no more. But yeah, so I started to say, okay, I'm going to talk about what I see as opposed to what I see. You know what I mean? And what I dream about, that's not connecting with regular people, right? So I am regular. So just talk about what you see. And that's when I started doing songs like National Anthem and Beepers. And I was talking about, drug addicts and all kind of stuff. And it started to change. Initially, people didn't want to hear me do that. They wanted square dance rap. They just be playful.
Right.
But I knew by that point, that's not sustainable. You can do one good, funny gimmick song, but if you do 2, your career's over.
Right.
You can do another song that's fun, but not gimmicky, not corny, slowed down and watered down for the unhip music fan. You don't want to do that.
I don't think you ever got in any trouble. Like even Seattle's most beloved Eddie Vedder got in fights in New Orleans and got arrested. And
we had some problems, but thank God. This is wood, right? Thank God that social media wasn't around.
Sure. At this point, you'd met with some financial success.
Yeah.
Were you responsible? Or...
Hell no. I don't have them. I should have. I tell you what, I'll send them when I get back. I will send you the pictures of my basketball court / garage. You'll see. This is right around 1991. So I'm getting ready to, the Rick Rubin deal. You'll see Vipers, 2 Ferraris.
Great.
You'll see a Porsche.
What's irresponsible about this?
Yeah. Well, I haven't stopped. You'll see a Lamborghini.
Wonderful.
You'll see 2 BMWs and a partridge in a pear tree. I can't remember the rest. I was a car fanatic. And I had this little idea, but I'll tell you that later. But about doing a song about cars, which I did later, and it kind of helped me to pay some of them cars, ironically. But yeah, I went nuts. We were taking crazy ass pictures and doing, and which is predictable now. When you rise to that level and you don't know where the ground is anymore, you'll find it quickly.
Right.
And boy, did I find it. Yeah. Like I said, we did another record that I think quality wise was better than anything I had done. But there was nothing here. It had no soul. It had no, like, when people love a song in the crowd, you can see it. Get the fuck away, this is my shit. That didn't happen. Everything was, I was doing stuff that was too slick, too perfect. There was no flaws in the songs. I was trying to mimic something else I heard, and it just didn't add up.
Right.
And then we went on another tour with NWA. And I said, you're talking early 90s, just right before, because you remember they were doing shit in the 80s, in the late 80s. But they were still NWA. And
this was 100 Miles and Running. This is...
Yeah, right before. But what I noticed about them, even though they got bigger, they had more money than I did, right? They had, I think, 2 platinums by then. But they didn't act like it. I did. That's what I fucked up on. When I saw them, they were still being themselves. Everybody. They'd still be... And Ice Cube did not bite his tongue because he knew at that point the fans were going to hold him up. Radio stations wasn't playing them anyway. So they didn't have the problem I had when I had pop hits, and I'm trying to keep delivering those while simultaneously showing my street cred. That's hard to do. But what I noticed about those guys, they were just who they were. If you got pissed, you just got pissed. They didn't compromise anything. And so that's what I turned to. I went back and just said, just do what I do. I didn't grow up around gang shit. I grew up around pimp shit. And that's what I know. Very well. And to me, I apply pimp game to life anyway. I said that in multiple songs. And that's kind of what I did. I stuck to that and it worked because people saw, okay, that's who he really is. And when I interview, I talk, I'm just being myself. I like nerdy shit. I'm an electronics fanatic and shit like that. At the same time, I'm the same guy that would stand out on the street corner and watch, I ain't gonna say the names, but watch pimps do what they do. Because pimps could talk. Pimps were the first rappers. Really. They would be rhyming and shit on street corners, talking to their girl, but it was all rhyming and shit. Yeah.
Do you still mess with electronics? You build mic pre's or?
No. No, there's too many people doing that. It's all communication-based stuff. Like right now I'm working with, there's a new chipset called a LDMOS. It's like a little transistor that can do 2,000 watts. I'm like, okay, how do you dissipate heat? I said, this thing has to be super efficient.
So you're into like ham radio and this kind of thing?
Anything has to do with communication, I'll do it. I just build them. I learned how to build them when I was a kid. And that's how I that's how I got my first mixer. I got a mixer that was an old, about 16 channel mixer. Was about that big back then. And I fixed it myself. I fixed all the pots, everything.
Wow.
I love electronics. Honestly, that's why I don't smoke weed. That's why I don't smoke cigarettes. That's why I don't drink. That's why I don't go to clubs. I like doing that shit. Love it.
You like smoking solder.
Yeah, exactly. Which is worse for you than all of that stuff, honestly.
Well, once we're concluded, I will have interviewed every member of Subset.
Oh, good. Did they tell you about those songs that we did?
I saw you guys a couple times back then.
I keep telling these guys, dude, somebody's got a bootleg version of Addicted to the Fame. It's on YouTube, and everybody's like, was this just a song these guys just decided to do? They don't know that it was a project.
Right.
And I might snatch my lyrics back and put those songs out and just do different music or something. But those guys had already seen the mountaintop. I hadn't. Right. So I wanted to climb a little bit higher and look over there and see what they were looking at. that rock money. You know what I mean? but I hadn't. But
That's not real though, right?
no, there was no difference. You know, when you look over that, because you think rock, they have way more. No, it's about the same. As a matter of fact, rappers usually, because they don't have bands, make a little bit more per record sold. But do we sell the records? And yeah, go to a Rolling Stones concert. Yeah, I knew right then. Yeah, tuck my tail between my legs and leave. You ain't fucking with this.
Maybe. I don't know.
You know who does have that kind of energy though? Cypress Hill.
Oh man.
When Cypress Hill does a show, it looks like a rock show. People stage dive at Cypress Hill shows,
Right.
but they're not doing rock. Even though they've done rock, because Korn to me is Cypress Hill with guitars. To me, when you look at him, because you know, especially the bass player, he plays like a gangster. You know, I love that shit, man. But rock is something I love. Rock. I've been listening to rock since I started listening to music. I mean, my influences were number one was James Brown, number two George Clinton, number three Bootsy Collins, number four early rock, not that happy shit either. When metal came out, Metallica start doing shit. I just fell in love with it. But it was I was already in music then.
Was it your first record you had a collaboration with Metal Church?
Metal
I feel
Church.
like this was my introduction to Sir MIxaLot.
Yeah, Metal Church, Iron Man. We redid Iron Man.
Right.
And I just sitting there watching them, you know, and they were so nice to me because I was so out of my league. I was like, can you do the chord? Yeah. The one when you hold more than one on the fret. Yeah. Like this dumb son of a bitch. He better be able to afford us.
Easily impressed.
Yeah, I was easily impressed, man. But they were patient with me, man. I was screwing up. And you know, every time you screw up, these guys gotta go back. And I said, so then we started to break it up and record it like a video. Like, go ahead and play the air. You're gonna play air guitar for a minute. They don't know. As long as they see those strings vibrating, they know you're playing something. And that song, it did okay. But it brought in, because at first when I did Posse on Broadway, I'd do a show and it was like gangsters. It was just all black, whole crowd. As soon as I did Iron Man and Rippin', then I had the mixed crowd, which is that's what I grew up around, you know? Right. So I was like, yeah, I feel like I'm at home.
Any ambitions to do another rap rock crossover?
Yes. Because if you do, trying to remember who told me this. It wasn't Bootsy Collins. Oh, George Clinton. George Clinton.
Oh.
Yeah, that guy. I got the autograph at home, and he was asking me about his songs, what I knew about him. I said, name the song. I mean, I was cocky because I probably know more George Clinton shit than he does. He's been recording it his whole life. I'm serious, man. P-Funk led to rap. That's what started rap. I know in New York, you know, a lot of people were playing disco, you know, Chic and stuff like that for Rapper's Delight. But it was really P-Funk that the core of rap comes from that. And meeting George Clinton, and he made me tell him a couple of things about Parliament Funkadelic. He's like, give me a song other than the ones that you heard on the radio that you liked. I said, Bop Gun. I said, Sir Knows Devoid of Funk. He said, how you know that wasn't played? I said, because it was too long.
Right.
It was too long. It was 7 minutes long, and they wouldn't play it. And they only played singles. He said, God damn, man. He said, you were just a kid. But I follow those guys constantly. And James Brown's drummer, I don't care what anybody says, is the square root of hip hop.
Sure.
Everything started with, what's his name? Clyde Davis, or whatever his name was. I forgot his name, but no, Clyde Stubblefield. Yeah, but no, I used to do this all the time, every day. And drum machines hadn't come out yet. Cold sweat. I would sit here. That was Clyde. I would go through cold sweat and play every little riff, and it was all fingers. You know, you can't do it just with the heel of your hand. So you had to, when he does those little rolls and stuff. And I kind of felt bad for him when he was on his last special he did for some some music students, and he said that as much as Funky Drummer was sampled, he never got a fucking dime.
Right, because he wasn't a part of the publishing.
That pissed me the fuck. And James Brown was alive then. He was still alive, and he could have done something, but he didn't. And that bothered me a lot. I didn't know it. I'm thinking this guy's getting rich off of hip hop, and he just played for those kids and sat there and he smiled. But I felt sorry for him. I tried to find. I did hear that. I don't know how true it is. I heard that LL just gave him some money, just did it because Mama said knock you out, no songs. Everybody used that riff, but his best drumming to me was on Cold Sweat. Not Funky Drummer. Cold Sweat was the shit to me. And James Brown was incredible, but he was brutal. he was brutal. They said that, I saw in that interview, he was talking to, like I said, some college students, and he said that James Brown said that when we're in the studio, even if I'm gone and I come back, whatever you work on is mine. That was, but I can't. No, but I love looking at other acts. The arrogance left me in London, England. We played London, England in 1986, and I thought I was a superstar.
86.
Yeah. 86. Yep. This is before SWAS.
Right.
I had a version of Posse on Broadway. I had Square Dance Rap. I just did 2 songs, and I thought I was a star. Then I got to see real hip hop. I was like, God damn. I was blown away. I mean, everybody was there, like Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. I'm talking about early. Sugar Hill Gang. The early groups were there. Big Daddy Kane just starting. And I'm like, what the fuck? I should stop doing music. I mean, that's how puny I felt. Same way I felt when I did a close-up show for some rich dude somewhere in Missouri, somewhere close to the East Coast, further over. And I was like, why are we coming out here to do this guy's? But he paid us like crazy money, right? So we don't know who this guy is. I walk in and end up in a conversation with Rakim about publishing. The GOAT?
Right.
That's the GOAT. You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah. And he was so modest. That if I was Rakim, I'd be like, you know who the fuck I am? You know what I mean? But nope. He was talking to me about publishing. I gave him a young lady's phone number that could help him with his publishing, because that pump up the volume, a lot of that's him. So he had to make sure he was getting his bread. And then here comes Public Enemy walking in. Now, I've played with Public Enemy before, but we were in a room.
Who's this dude that's throwing the party?
I forget the guy's name. I know Mike, one of the guys in my group, knows him. They went out and did another show for him. He is wealthy as hell, and he blows off steam at the end of the year, right off, But it was that, and the EPMD was there. Everybody he liked.
Get all you guys in
everybody
a room.
He liked as a kid, he brings them all in.
That's amazing.
And he did that, and it was a cool thing to talk with legends, man. And you realize how puny you are when you're talking to Rakim. That is the GOAT's GOAT. Eminem, who skill-wise is probably the GOAT, but Eminem will not call himself the GOAT. Rakim is the GOAT. He always.
Do you have an all-time favorite voice?
Now voice. I like that you said voice, though.
Well,
because it's a difference between voice and skills.
Yeah.
It's like guitar. You'll see people play guitars and play a really catchy melody, but I don't know if he's a good or bad guitar player. But you'll go, If he would be going, that kind of stuff. I had to learn that from the rock guys when I was messing with Chris Blue and those guys. They were like, oh no, I don't do that. So no, but there was being in there with people that define rap. I mean, like I said, meeting Rakim, and he's so modest. The dude he was asking me questions, and I gave him Candace's phone number. I said, no, that pump up the volume, that's yours, and it was just watching him perform, and they were close. It was a tiny room. He rents out a little baby club, no bigger than this room, maybe times 2.
Wow.
And he brings in all of his friends, gets them drunk before we weren't even there. We walked in, they were like, "Oh fuck, who are you?" That kind of shit. And like 500 people packed in a hot, sweaty club. And I went on second. Somebody went on first, and I wanted to go first because I didn't feel like I was in their class or any of them guys, And I got out in the crowd and I watched them. I said, I'm gonna learn something today.
It sounds like it's a common theme through your whole life.
Yeah.
And I think that's amazing.
If I'm not curious about something, it's boring to me. If I feel like I never feel I'm the best at anything. Like my dad said, you could be best at bullshitting, but you ain't getting an award for it, And so what I think when I walk into something, there's something this guy did to get here, and you'll start hearing it. Like Young MC. I was watching a video. Me and Young MC have done many shows together. I was watching a video of him talk about licensing. Holy shit. I thought I knew a lot about licensing. That guy, I'm like, get your pen out. And he was just rambling off stuff, and he's super smart. And you don't realize what some of these artists are capable of and how they think until you get close to them. Like, I thought I was going to get around Korn and just see a bunch of guys pissing on themselves having a good time. No, they were very serious. And they didn't yell before the show. They were talking real calm because they didn't want to lose their voices. And that's why I pick up a little bit of professionalism from every act I've been around. My favorite it's a when you like something that the people that you usually like would not want you to like. I am a big Gary Newman fan, a huge Gary Newman fan. I can go through his lyrics so quick it'll scare you because his lyrics are so vague that you can lie and say they're about you. I mean, dude he writes in a way that I think he has Asperger's. And when people have that, they usually can write.
Right.
I mean, he has lyrics that I can make mean anything, and that dude, and he's kind of shy, which is really strange. You're an entertainer.
I did a festival show with him a couple years ago, and the show is pretty amazing.
Yeah, and he kind of hates his past. Like, he doesn't like doing old songs, but dude, I mean, like the song Down in the Park, that song could mean anything, right? And so somebody was talking to him, interviewing him about it. And I always said, this sounds like he's talking about a graveyard. And he was. I'm like, oh, okay. But the rest of them I missed.
Right.
I missed the rest of them. I was like Cars. I knew that was about solitude. It wasn't about a car, But he's in Metal. I don't know if you saw the version of Metal he did with Trent Reznor. Ooh.
Well, his whole show now is sort of his post-Trent.
It is.
version.
Him and Trent got close, and I'm glad they did. And I go to see him every time he comes to town. But he's kind of shy. It's kind of weird. An entertainer that's kind of shy. I'm kind of shy in certain scenarios, but not when I'm on the stage. No, I am.
What about your favorite voice?
Favorite voice? Ooh, Smokey.
Favorite rap voice?
Oh, rap voice. I got to put him in classes. Authoritative, Chuck D.
Hell yeah.
If he's your daddy, you better pick this shit off the floor. I said it. Do it now.
You're doing it.
I'm your daddy, and you know it. Yeah, boy. Yeah. Chuck D, authoritative. Smooth, Rakim. Scary, Ice Cube. Ice Cube's voice. Now, if you know him, you wouldn't say that. Ice Cube's voice sounds like he is, like his veins are running through his face. He's going to blow your goddamn brains out before he finishes the song. I mean, it's like watching him in those early years, like in 88, 89, I was like, this dude's voice won't go out. When you rap like that, usually your voice goes hoarse, which I call it cactus, because if you go hoarse enough, you stop going hoarse.
Right.
It's something that every singer taught me. So yeah, he has the most authoritative, like, listen to what the fuck I'm saying or I'm gonna shoot you.
I didn't see him until, I guess, 94. I saw him at Rock Candy.
Yeah.
And then within 6 months, I also saw Public Enemy there at Rock Candy.
And Snoop's voice. Snoop's voice is just you can't copy it. Can't do it. And he doesn't have to speed up at all. He's Snoop.
Right.
Don't have to do shit. I love when an artist has a kind of voice that they can talk, and you're like, you can't stop looking at them because you just want to learn something, man. And I'm always learning. Like I saw Morris Day do an interview. That's another one of my favorite artists.
Yes.
Morris Day and Prince was. I got a story I'll tell you about Prince right quick.
Let's go.
It's not a big deal. It was a big deal to me though. Prince is like, I saw him at the Tacoma Dome back in the day, the Purple Rain tour. I had horrible seats, because if this is the stage, it's that way. I was sitting here.
Mm-hmm.
Best seat I could have had. On that day, I learned professionalism. Prince was behind the stage, and some people were doing something before. This is before he came out. The crowd hadn't seen him yet, and you could see him. He was walking, talking to himself. Then somebody walked, asked him a question. Right? Most people go ask the sound guy.
Mm-hmm.
Not Prince. You're going to be there. You two go over here. Okay, you guys are going to dance. When the thing comes out, and you could see him. I couldn't hear him. I'm like, God damn.
Directing everything.
This man is serious. And that's when I realized that was fucking professional. I mean, he was, and then he was walking and he's pacing around, and then lights go dark. And he's coming out, dearly beloved, right? And he's standing on a thing that brought him up slowly. And he's going into Let's Go Crazy, the speech he does. And then he finishes and he starts playing. Dun, 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 and the crowd I'm like, God damn. That right there, I have, to this day, I haven't seen anything like that in person.
He was a master.
Yeah, he was just perfect. Perfect. I was like, God damn, this guy doesn't fuck up. Then he brings a girl on the stage and he was doing Beautiful Ones. I think was it Beautiful Ones? I think it was Beautiful Ones he was doing. And he sits her down and he ties her up to the chair. And then he does his Prince, he's walking around, and then the song comes on. And everybody goes, oh shit. And he just he's in her ear. He's saying all the little whispers and stuff. And we could hear it, of course. This dude is crazy. People that didn't like Prince, like macho men, were like, God damn, that motherfucker, he ain't no joke. That was the best performance by any artist I'd ever seen in my life, in person or otherwise. I think Bruno Mars has a great show too. He has an incredible show, but his songs aren't as iconic as Prince's are.
The first time I saw Prince was on the Love Sexy tour. It was in the Round.
Oh, yeah.
It was incredible. I mean, he had like a basketball hoop on stage.
He plays basketball.
Well, here's the thing. You got to have some real stones to just with full confidence take a shot in front of arena.
Yeah. In high heels.
And swoosh every time.
Yeah, he can play. That story, that Eddie Murphy story, it's hyperbole, but it really happened. Yeah. And Prince, to me, I met him twice. One time was not good. Ricardo and I, my manager, Ricardo, we were at Red Lobster. It used to be on La Cienega in Wilshire. And the restaurant's closing down. And Ricardo's going to the bathroom. And I'm not thinking, I see this guy, and I'm not trying to be funny or nothing like that. I see this guy and his foot's dangling under the table.
Right.
Right. And at a look, and he had a stitched in Roger Rabbit thing coming up but I couldn't see his face.
Yeah.
Or her face. I didn't know if it was his or her because I'm seeing Roger Rabbit pants. I don't know. Right. So I stand up because I'm waiting on Ricardo to come out the bathroom, and I hear a deep voice go, Mix. What the fuck his voice sounded like it came from behind me, but it was right in front of me. He didn't say much. This is going to sound.
It was him.
Yeah, it was him. And he was sitting with a woman that I'm not going to say because she was supposed to, at that time, be with someone else.
Sure.
So not going to. But anyway, he brought up a song of mine that I sampled him in.
Oh.
And you know how he is about that stuff, publishing stuff. So I thought. He goes, Mix, I heard Flow Show. I did just what I'm doing now. Like, oh, did you like it? not really. Because he's being honest. He was being honest. He said, not really. He said, but I noticed you use Housequake in there. Like, yeah. And I'm about to piss my pants. Like this, I can't, this motherfucker sues me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm bankrupt. I can't, I mean, just like, take my house. I got some underwear here, whatever you need. He said, do you own your publishing? I said, yeah. He said, you're good. I never forgot that. I never forgot that. The next time I saw Prince in person was when he was walking around Warner Brothers with the slave thing on his face.
Right.
And he was telling all of us, leave, pointing to every artist, leave, leave. He was telling people to leave, you know? And it's like, this guy cares. Prince gave a shit.
Yeah.
People can say whatever they want to say about him. He cared. He gave a damn about artists making money. And he said, if you don't make any money, what are you doing? You're just feeding a machine, you know? And he was serious about it. And I picked up that, you know, that flag. Mine is not as big as his. And I'm just like that when I deal with artists. I say, hey man, what about your publishing? You good? I always ask him that because, and that caught on from him. Yep. Yeah. Prince was, I only met him that one time. Well, 2 times. The second time wasn't a meeting. It was like, get the fuck out of here.
Right.
Get the fuck out of here, you know.
What do you have planned for your future?
You know, I'm 61 years old, and I know people think, man, you could just kick back. I'm not that dude. I'm not that dude that wants to go sit on a beach and
Right.
sip a drink. I don't drink, but I sip a cold water, whatever.
Kicking back full time isn't that fun.
No, it's not, man. People, this is overestimated. You know, now, like I said, now my manager, Ricardo, he can play. Ricardo will call you and I say, where you at? Hawaii. Oh shit, okay. Where you at? Germany. Like, goddamn, this motherfucker called me and I said, where you at? I shit you not. Africa. When was I gonna hear about this shit? If we got a deal on line 1, you're gonna take it in Africa? I mean, but you know, that's his thing. That's his thing. And I treat him like I'd want to be treated. So my manager doesn't work for me. I never say, you'll never hear me describe Ricardo as somebody that works for me. Ricardo works with me.
Sure.
And we're a company. So what I do is I give him, I don't pay him a salary. I give him a percentage of every dollar that we make because he negotiated every single deal, every single decent deal that I've ever had. And so I give him 20% of the gross.
Yeah. How long have you been working with him?
We started when the whole Nasty Mix problem happened about 1990.
That's a long relationship right there.
Long time. Yeah, long. He was working at Nasty Mix. That's how I met him. He was at Nasty Mix, and I was trying to figure out what term was I trying to figure out? There's some publishing term that I didn't know. And my manager then walked in. He said, "Oh, I got a guy in the mailroom that is gonna know. He knows everything like that." I'm thinking to myself, as a kid, I'm still going, in the mailroom?
Well, what's your manager doing?
Yeah, exactly. So, and Ricardo answered the question, and he explained it to me. And then when the thing started to fall apart, Ricardo was still there. And I just walked back in the back room. There was no collusion. There was no people talking, oh yeah, he came in and stole them. No. The label was, not really fully funded at that point.
Right.
People were walking.
Sure.
And I asked him, and he'll tell you. I said, what do you don't even have to let him hear this. Ask him what I said. I said, what you doing for the next 20 years? He said, what you mean? I said, let's do something, man. Let's fucking do a record. Let's get out of here. Because I was gonna leave. So I said, let's go do a record, man. We go do some shit. And I started making music, and turning stuff in, letting them hear it. And he went right to work. And he started to call people.
Amazing.
And we got a call from somebody at RCA. I remember not liking the guy at all. He's an asshole. I said, yeah, I got some songs like this. He said, no. You're gonna do what I tell you to do. Click. I didn't even speak to him no more. I hung up in his fucking face. I said, no, that's not what I want to do. And I'd heard about majors being like that. Then we get another call from Reprise, Warner Brothers. And, we're getting close, but no cigar. Then we get a call from Rick Rubin. Ricardo's like, yeah, Rick Rubin's interested. I said, Rick Rubin? You mean the Rick Rubin, LL, Run DMC, all that shit? That Rick Rubin? He said, yeah. I said, did we take the call? He said, fuck yeah.
Did we take the call?
Oh, no, we hung up. Rick Rubin, line one. He ain't offered nothing. Fuck him. No. And his offer was not the biggest.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't care. I wanted a home. I wanted somewhere. And what I mean by that, I wanted the people at the label to be smarter than me. And I'm not saying that I was smarter than everybody at Nasty Mix, but I could go to a library and read what they already knew. I wanted more, so the money, a rich guy with no brains didn't do me any good. So we fly down and meet him. I meet with Rick, and it was totally different than any other exec I ever met with in my life. And I remember that same guy I'm talking about, the artist, he told me never to tell Rick. He said, when he speaks, shut the fuck up. That's the first thing he said. Do not interrupt him. Listen to him, and he'll put some fat on your head, which means, give you some game. And I liked him. His offer was second to the lowest, but I took it because he's a music guy, and that's what I needed.
And it worked out.
Mm-hmm. And everybody at Nasty Mix, they were smart, calculus majors and all this shit. But I didn't need a calculus guy. I needed somebody that can tell me that song sucks, and I can look at him and go, that's a credible motherfucker right there. I'm gonna throw a song out. And I remember when, Rick, he's very artist friendly. He's very artist friendly. And a lot of people say he's not, but maybe I caught him on a Tuesday. I don't know. But when I would turn in songs, and keep in mind, this is before the internet. So I'm in Seattle.
Yeah.
Right. I'm sending the song FedEx, and you know how much FedEx was back then. It was only $7. You can give a guy something for $7 back then. He would call me and he said, is your fax on? I said, yeah.
Sign of the times.
He said, okay, I'm going to fax you my comments. I still have those comments to this day.
Oh, that's cool.
All of them. And my favorite song was One Time's Got No Case on that album, because we're talking Mac Daddy record now. And he said, I don't think so. I said, well, dude, I like this song. Keep in mind, I come from an independent, so I'm used to not getting a lot of input. And I was getting mad, right? But he was just telling me, he said, I just think there's another song that could be bigger, but we'll go with what you said. I'd never had a person ever say that. We'll go with what you said. Well, at Nasty Mix, yes, but the other, you meet any other labels? No.
Right.
They just like, no, you're going to do what the hell we tell you to do. And I don't want to be anybody's bitch. That's not me.
Same.
But I didn't take his advice. And the single was One Time's Got No Case. And it sold about 58,000 copies.
Right.
I said, so what's your favorite song? And he typed it in all caps. This one called Baby Got Back. I said, Rick wants an ass song? I just didn't think he, coming from LL and Run DMC and Public Enemy and Beastie Boys. I'm like, really? But he said, I don't go by what they did. I go by what fits you. He said, and that song, I like it because it means more. That song's not about butts, and he figured that out quick.
Go on.
But the fans thought it was for a while. I try not to say this stuff because I don't want to piss anybody off. But what Baby Got Back was a knee-jerk response to Pamela Anderson.
Oh.
It was, I got sick of girls running around with fake tits, bleached blonde hair, and then African-American women were trying to look like them, which was, it really pissed me off. And that's why I wrote Baby Got Back. And he knew it. And he said, before they get the message, you'll be platinum. That's what Rick said to me. And that's what happened. That before MTV got the message, it was platinum. And it's like, now, don't worry about it. I remember when the song got banned from MTV, I remember Heidi, Rick's assistant, called me, and she's still his assistant right now. And she said, I was like, I think I told you that, the Ed Sullivan thing. And that's when she said it. She said, you've been banned. You've been banned. You hear about it? I said, I thought my career was over. She's like, are you fucking kidding me? She said, you're just getting started. And sure enough, I'm going home. I'm still depressed because I'm like, I'm not seeing anything. Then I get a phone call from the 310 area code, Arsenio Hall. He said, can you turn around? I said, fuck, man, I'm in Utah. He said, if you want to do the Arsenio show? I said, well, yeah. He said, then turn your black ass around. We turned around and went back and we go on Arsenio's show. And I mean, I was able to tell everyone what that song was about publicly. And that's when Baby Got Back, I knew it's not going to ever fall. That's what Rick was talking about. He said, once they know what he knew from the gate. And he said, once they know this is not a sexual song. You're the sexual pig in the song. And he understood that I never got the girl.
Interesting.
Listen to all of Baby Got Back. I never got her. I never got that girl. You look at the video. In the video, Shireen, who's Amin, we put her on a pedestal and she was spinning, but we couldn't touch her. That was by design. Because if she's hanging on me, she's just a hoe. She's just a groupie. I didn't want that. I wanted this to be a queen. And when I got there, they had her dressed. Oh my God. The rumor is that I pulled a gun on the wardrobe lady. I'm like, first of all, traveling across borders with guns? No, can't do that. We're in LA.
Right.
We ain't doing that. So, but I did go off because she looked like a straight prostitute.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy goes, the director, who was the director on that day, said that that's what girls look like in music videos. I fired him. I said, yeah, I told Ricardo, get this motherfucker out of here, man. I said it right while he was standing there. They threw him out because I said he was part of the problem, is that the only thing he saw in African-American women was hoes. Oh, that's a video hose. Yeah, do you want them to drink? No, I didn't. I wanted to be the knee-jerk response to that shit. And so that's why every girl in that video was dressed. I didn't want that. I didn't want all that bullshit in my video. And it worked. It worked. And women showed up.
Okay.
To hear a song about butts, I was selling out arenas and it was like 65% women. In the early rap era,
Right.
When it was usually a macho thing. And when I tell that story, people think I'm full of shit. But I couldn't believe it. I think they did it on MTV. They said that I came in and I pulled a gun on the director. I'm like, wow, boy, talk about embellishing shit, pulling a gun. But I did make them go to the mall and get them new clothes, different clothes. And the reason I knew that song was going to work also was the young lady that they had underdressed, let's just say. When I got her the new clothes, I said, what do you like? She got what she wanted, right? She put it on and she said, thank you. And that right there, knocking on that, because my mom, when I told my mom that story, she started crying because my mom was a very proud woman. And she said, well, she didn't think the message was going to get through. She said, yeah, but you keep saying I like big butts, but I'm saying I like them. I said, Mom, look at the video. She never got but I couldn't get her. None of us could. We were the hoes in the video, and we could not get her. She was on a pedestal, and that was it. And she got it. My mom's like, look at my baby,
Clearly, and it goes without saying, that was a huge, massive, massive hit.
Yeah.
Your mom going from saying this isn't real music to seeing you succeed must have been huge for you.
She just didn't like all the, bitches and hoes and all that, which I never did. I never did that. Everybody says, yeah, you used to call them hoes. Look at none of my songs I call them no bitch. Nope. As a matter of fact, I say in songs I don't call them no bitch. I never call a woman a bitch. unless they are one. I call a man a bitch quick.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Especially if they have it coming. I think you even very early on, when it wasn't chic, talked about not putting hands on a woman at all.
No, never hit a woman in my life. Never, never, never. I mean, I've had some arguments.
Of course.
You know, I had an argument with a girl that threw some shit at me and all that. I just said, okay, I just opened the door.
Right.
Ain't gonna work. You know, fuck you, getting in my face. And I was like, all right, yeah, okay. But I only saw my mom get hit one time. And wasn't by my dad, thank God. But the dude that did it, he regretted it. Because my brother was not nothing to be fucked with. You know, yeah, he was 14 years older than me. So when I was in there just still fighting like this, he was, yeah, no, you ain't hit my mama. Matter of fact, any man that hits a woman to me is a bitch. Period. Yeah, I mean, just like, I don't know, just not my thing, man. And they used to, like people think the rappers be hitting girls because they say it. Man, they don't do that. They don't do that shit.
Yeah, not most folks.
I like people talk about Too Short. If you ever talk to that dude, he's like a walking fucking encyclopedia. He's super fucking smart. Talk to him about publishing. That dude will run through contracts like, and it's amazing how smart some of these guys are. But for some reason, they think it doesn't pay. And I hate that. I'm not saying Too Short thinks that, because Too Short will do it in front of anybody. But some of these guys, they just want to play. They'll talk to you one way and get on stage and turn dumb. I hate that shit. But that doesn't happen as much as it used to.
Right.
It's embarrassing to me. To me, I wouldn't do that. I was like, you guys need to just be you.
You seem to stay super busy. Do you have a current music project that you're working on now?
I'm always working on music. Yeah, I got songs now. I got into music because I loved it. And any person that's ever made money at it, usually that's why they got into it. The people that failed are the people that got into it to win. When you do a song like Baby Got Back, you didn't do it expecting to go number one on a station that really doesn't like black music. I mean, remember, what's the guy's name that was in Chic?
No, Rogers?
No, it wasn't Chic. It was Bowie. When David Bowie went on MTV, and they said that, he said, how come you don't play anything from African-American artists? He said black.
Right.
And the guy goes, well, there's nobody with a hit. He said, what color's Michael Jackson?
No shit.
And he did that. Go, he's the only one that could, because we couldn't get on there, right? He did that in what, 1980? I was like, David Bowie is the fucking man. I don't care what anybody says, man. Shit, that dude was awesome. And I like the fact that he respected soul. He respected James Brown, all that shit. Yeah, he admitted where his stuff came from. Nobody sued him. They're not going to sue him. They just, want some credit.
Any plans for a new release in the near future?
I'm going to put some more stuff out. I'm going to put some stuff out, but I wanted to, the hardest thing about when you release music professionally,
sure,
air quotes, because I hate that term, because you don't do music. If you do music and you only do it professionally, that's when your career's over.
Right.
If you show me a guitar player that plays a good solo on stage, but he can't play in a room by himself, then I'll tell you that you got two different guys. Something happened, because people that do this for a living would do it for free.
Absolutely.
We do it for free. We just happen to get paid every now and then for it.
Sometimes.
I mean, every song I make didn't make $1, I got songs that I thought were great. Pow.
They cost you money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Waste of electricity, But I feel fortunate to have the business be patient enough with me to let me dissipate the ignorance, because for a long time I thought I knew shit that I didn't know.
Sure.
And like I said, I found myself watching other people and looking at what they did. There's no school for this. Like radio, when stuff left radio and went to like MP3s and all this kind of shit, all of a sudden everything's, it's hard to find a polished artist anymore. I'm not saying I'm one either. It's just hard to find one. You don't find many new artists that are polished. Why? Because they're just sitting on YouTube making songs like everybody else. They're not like you and I probably did. They're not locking themselves in a room like this and going, let's come up with something. They're not doing that. They're not doing that. They don't have ideas. They just watch, TikTok and go, okay, we could do that. Let's do it.
Content regurgitation.
Nah, you don't want that kind of shit. That's not good. Most unique people that you've ever heard did not do that.
Right.
Before James Brown, there was nobody that sang like that.
Nope.
Before Tina Turner, there was nobody that sang like that. Little Richard. You can go Ray Charles. You can't. It has to be like they talk about pimping. The pimps used to say, pimping ain't on you, pimping's in you. That was like a term the old pimps used back in the day, but it applies to anything professional. If you love it enough, you'll ooze it. When you walk out of the door, it'll just drip off of you. People will know that's the guy.
Right.
And like when I saw Prince in person, just sitting there, I'm like, yeah, you could tell he's a fucking artist. He's sitting there with some fucking Roger Rabbit pants on, feet ain't reaching the ground. And he's sitting there like, Mix. Just sitting there. I'm like, this motherfucker.
Rabbit pants.
Man. No, I'm not lying. Ask Ricardo. He was there, man. And when he did that thing walking around talking about the publishing and stuff like that, I didn't understand publishing yet. So I started to go, okay, let me see what he's talking about. And I started to read about it. And because he'd go to every artist, get your publishing or leave. Get your publishing or leave. He was telling them to do that. Literally telling them. That's not a figurative thing I'm doing.
Right.
He was literally walking around with slave on both sides of his face and telling people, leave, leave, leave. Simple as that. Like he same thing with E40. He gave E40 stuff because E40 owned his own publishing. And he cared about artists. He really did. Yep.
I gotta say, this has been
the longest.
It's been really awesome. And I love how willing you have been throughout your entire life and career to be a student of every successful person around you.
You have to, man. When I first got in it, I remember, I forget the guy's name. He was a soul singer, but he was garbage. I forgot what group he was in. The one that did Firecracker. I forgot that. Anyway, he was telling me, man, what you got to do, man, everything you do on stage is fake. I'm like, what the fuck? I forgot his name. God damn, what was the name of the group? Shit, I got Nasty Ness got me backstage. And when he told me that, I was like, that can't be true. And,
it's
and
acting, right?
Yeah, and then Ness's boss, I forget his name. He hated me though. But he said, that's why he's a backup. Because he just does what he's told instead of what he feels. Like, and that's coming from a guy that pimps out pop music.
Sure.
And pop music's not bad either. I used to hate pop music because it was empty. It was like just every song said the same thing.
Right.
But then you start listening to some pop and there's some dark shit in there. You just got to find it.
That's right.
I can't produce pop. I can't even do it. I can't even make my fingers hit the right keys.
I appreciate you taking so much time to hang with me and tell me a lot of your story.
And I don't lie about shit, man, because, boy, when you start doing that.
Well, certainly these days.
It'll catch you quick.
Well, you can fact check just about anything and instantly now.
Yep, exactly.
It's really a pleasure to get such a cool story and inspiring story from a hometown hero.
Right. It's funny. I remember going on a tour that lasted a long, long time. About 7 months is when I used to fly. I don't fly anymore, but we did the tour and everybody said, man, if you're going to do music, you got to move to LA.
Right.
So I went down to LA. I chilled. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I appreciated the weather because it's December and it's 65 degrees, right? And I like that.
And who doesn't?
But the whole time I was there, I couldn't come up with an idea. I look out the window. I couldn't come up with nothing.
It's too nice.
I got the idea for the song Beepers from looking at a drug dealer. That's it. I just saw a drug dealer run to a phone booth because, they get the page and that's how they sell their dope, And I was like, shit, I'll just do it, but I'll make it more of the girls calling me kind of thing. Just little shit like that. But I didn't have I couldn't catch anything. No idea hit me there because it wasn't home. And I realized that. And I come back to Seattle, Dick's is the place where the cool hang out. Simple as that. And everybody that comes up here after that, me and Ness would pick up artists at the airport, and they'd be like, "Take me to this Dick's place." I said, "Dude, it's not that great. It's just a hamburger
I
place."
think it's the very best hamburger.
I think it's the best fries on the planet.
Great fries.
Take the fries, fold them in half, dip them in the tartar sauce.
That's it. Boom.
That's what I do. And who gives a shit if it falls on your shirt? I don't give a damn. I'm proud of this stain.
Hard-earned stain. Okay. Mix, thank you so much for being here.
Right on,
thank you
man.
for sharing.
I talk a lot because I learned that on podcasts. Give them more content than they need so they have stuff to edit because you may have fucked up somewhere. So,
oh, I fucked up somewhere.
You don't get old being no fool. That's what my grandma used to say.
Well, I put that to the test every day.
Yeah. They say you don't get old being no fool.